Hey, this is Mike, and in this episode of the podcast, I am going to interview someone named Jordan. Jordan reached out to me maybe over a year ago now after he had read Bigger, Leaner, Stronger and was going to get on the program, and he had started maybe about 240 pounds or so and got down to about 180 pounds and gained a bit of muscle and strength in the process. So he eventually went up on the website as a success, and I thought it would be cool to do, I was thinking maybe do like one a month where I reach out to someone like Jordan. Maybe I'll do a guy and then a girl and a guy and a girl, and kind of hear from them what the process has been like, getting into better shape, and what are the issues they've run into, and how did they overcome those problems, those obstacles, and kind of just let the conversations go where they're going to go. Like in this case, you'll see with Jordan talk a bit about traveling, because for his work he was traveling a lot while he was cutting. How did he make that work? Because that can be tricky. Talk about intermittent fasting, because that has helped him and something he has continued throughout, even though in my books, Bigger, Leaner, Stronger, or Thinner, Leaner, Stronger, which are like the main kind of, at least that's where most guys and girls should start. I don't necessarily recommend intermittent fasting. I don't say that you should be doing it. It's not that you shouldn't do it, but most people are going to find that eating 3 to 5 or maybe 6 meals a day is going to be generally more enjoyable than fewer. But some people like fewer meals, and so we talk a bit about that and those, the scenarios where IF maybe even makes more sense than a traditional diet structure, and vice versa. And then we get in some business stuff. And, in the end, he asked me a question, asked me a question, and it's business related. So I thought that'd actually be cool as well. At the end of the podcast, that these interview type podcasts, let whoever I'm interviewing, what's their one big question for me, and whatever it is. If it can be a diet, it can be diet, training, supplementation, life, business, I don't know, whatever you want to ask me is, and I'll just roll with it. So, hope you like the podcast. Let me know if you like this idea, if I should do more like this. Again, I was thinking like one a month would be cool. And then, on the rest, just either be me monologuing or a guest, talking about whatever it is that we would talk about. Okay, so let's get to the podcast, and please do let me know what you think of it. All right. Hey, Jordan, thanks for coming on the podcast. You're the guinea pig for whatever kind of template we're going to call this. I like to once a month, I want to talk with real people. And I mean, obviously I have a lot of people I can just reach out to that have done my stuff, so I might as well do that. But it's not just to plug my stuff per se, more just to talk about your experiences with, sure, it could be Bigger, Leaner, Stronger, but also just with the diet and training philosophies, that it's not just what I teach, but that this flexible dieting is becoming the thing now. Heavy strength training is becoming the thing now, and you know what I mean. So I thought it'd just be good to get. I ramble on and on and on about this stuff, but to get other people's perspectives.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, thanks for having me. It's good being the first the guinea pig to see how this goes. But yeah, no, just to give a little background about myself. I started weightlifting probably when I was in my teenage years, probably around 16, 17, like every kid, just wants to get big. You see all those
girls, right?
magazines.
I mean, absolutely. That's why I started weightlifting.
Of course.
I was like, I was 17 and I started to realize that that's in that age where, girls that are 17, 18, 19, 20, like, okay, these girls like muscles, so I'm gonna get some muscles.
Yeah, right. And then back at that time, you're looking at like Brad Pitt and thinking he's jacked.
Yeah,
and, like in Fight Club, it's just.
And then in Troy, he was literally massive. I remember in the theater oh.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I got started working out then. Just kind of did the typical, I have 2 older brothers, so I would usually go with them to the gym, just kind of do whatever they did, just kind of follow, and then, read on whatever magazine they were trying to push, smash your chest with 600,000 exercises in one day and all that stuff. So, I mean, I did that and it was all right. I mean, I gained a little bit of muscle, obviously, because you're going to gain muscle with any kind of resistance training, the
especially at that age. I mean, it's hard to overtrain. So you just, you can waste your time being efficient, but at that age, your hormones are out of control. So and you're sleeping a lot and eating a lot. So.
Oh, definitely. So, and that's something that, I got really fond of, which got me to the weight where I started, started cutting on Muscle for Life. But yeah, no, so I just got started to it, like you said, like everybody else. And then, never really got too serious with it, kind of had a different views on it, wanted to, the whole eat big, get big kind of thing. I stuck with that, but I wouldn't say I was super strong. I mean, I remember when I was maybe 220 220 pounds. I mean, like that picture when that I had on as I started my transformation, the max I was like almost 240. I was just a fat guy, and like
Yeah.
it was, and I just thought I was like jacked and like it's
Yeah.
stupid kind of. So it was funny too because when I got up to that weight, all throughout college, I worked at the Cheesecake Factory, so I had like all this,
3,000 calorie
oh yeah,
salads at your
exactly. No,
disposal.
I had full access to all that stuff. So I was like, all right, well, I just got to eat big to get big. So eating cheesecake every night, all this stuff, just horrible for you. Just not really realizing. But even when I was that weight, like when I was like 235, 240, I would still be struggling with like 225 on the bench. Like I wasn't strong, like, because I didn't have any strength training. It was just that typical, like 8 to 12 reps or like
I mean,
15 reps.
this is my story. It's the same thing. I mean, I didn't get up to that heavy, but that's
Well, you're lucky then.
I don't think I could. I actually don't think I could get up to two. It would require. I would just be straight obese if I were to. Ever.
Yeah, I was probably.
I mean, you weren't. But for me, I just know my body. Like, I'd have to eat 10,000 calories a day and just get obese, basically.
Oh yeah, I mean, McDonald's, Burger King, and cheesecake every night. I'm pretty sure, and also a pint of Ben and Jerry's, because it's going to make you strong. So, God, that was horrible. But yeah, no. So then it eventually, that was throughout college and stuff. I kind of leaned down a little bit, but never really got under 200 pounds. Like I was always pretty heavy, and I stayed up at that weight for a while until, like I said, like one night, one day, like after like a night of eating pizza and like drinking beer and stuff like that, I like looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, I don't like. I see everyone like on Instagram and like Facebook and like all these people. Like even like I just started reading your stuff and I was like, these people they gotta. I'm like, I just gotta stop being such a fat kid and just actually put the work in and do it. I'm like, by working out, like I want to get stronger, I want to get more muscle mass, but I don't want to be carrying around all this extra weight and have like pants that barely fit me and stuff like that, just like uncomfortable. And like you go up a flight of stairs, you're out of breath, and just like all that stuff. It's just,
when you put on your seatbelt, you're like, God. as it kind of tucks under.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just really uncomfortable. So, I mean, I like I said, I started doing research and I started reading your articles. Just like I said, like when I started this whole transformation, I was actually traveling back and forth to Boston, Massachusetts for a project I was on for my company. And, just kind of reading your articles. I remember reading it, just waiting for my flight. And then I saw your book and I was like, let me just, pull up my iPad. I bought it, started reading it right then and there. And I was like, all right, this guy, he's onto something. Like, all right, I see what you're doing here. And then eventually I was like, you know what? And then like pretty much that day, I was like, all right, I'm just going to download, because I had like minor success with using, what's that calorie tracker? MyFitnessPal. Yeah. Like I had like minor success in the past, but again, like I went down from like 240 to 220 and then like kind of hovered around that. So I downloaded that. And then just from there, I mean, I was using that every day. And then, I would be traveling Sunday night through Friday, Friday night. So then I try to go to the gym, just 3 days a week. And
let's talk a little bit. How did you make that work with traveling? Because I've written an article about it a while ago. It's probably like due for an update or a more in-depth treatment. But that is something that I know a lot of people run into. Just it is trickier. So how did you manage that?
Absolutely. So like I said, I really didn't go. I try to focus on just going to the gym those 3 days a week. So just the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I really just did like a chest and shoulders kind of, thing. And then like a back, like a push pull legs. Yeah. That's pretty much what I did, looking back on it. But then, maybe during the week, I would try to just do some basic body weight stuff just in my room, like at night after work and after I went to dinner or something like that, push ups, sit ups, stuff like that. Yeah. And then some of the hotels I stayed at, had a gym. I would go there, maybe do a little bit, just like maybe a quick circuit, but I wouldn't say I really did that too often when I was at work because it was 80 plus hours a week and then traveling on top of it. So it was insane. Yeah. But yeah, and then once I started noticing, that was in September. That's when I started.
How did you do it with your food?
So with my food, it was great because again, like since I was traveling and my company was, paying for everything, I was able to manipulate everything, even if it cost more. It didn't really, not like it had no price, but also a lot of the things I stuck to pretty much the same meals a day. Like every day I would eat the same thing. Yep.
And what would you eat? Because there are a lot of people, again, where money's not the problem. They're just, they just don't understand like logistically, because also did you have to go to dinners with people? You know what I mean? So how did you?
So just to play off that, my daily if I could break up my daily, kind of routine with food, it would be in the morning. I would usually skip breakfast, to be honest with you. I usually just, because that's what it was for me. I after started, again, reading into the intermittent fasting and all that stuff. So breakfast would be, a coffee, probably like a giant iced coffee from, one of the places around. And I had lunch maybe around 12:30, and I'd usually just go to Chipotle or like a similar,
somewhere where you can get an idea.
Yeah, exactly. And like a lot of the places, and if I didn't go to a place like that where they didn't have the nutrition calculators, say if I went to like a sandwich place, and I would use like another place, like I would use, I know, like Subway, or like someone has like the nutritional information on there that I can kind of relate.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be the same thing, like, oh, well, you're eating a medium-sized blueberry muffin, so it's not the exact brand, but what are most blue? Okay, I'll take the high one out of those.
Exactly. Or like, exactly. So and also, since I was in a city, I was walking more, which definitely helped. I mean, because I enjoyed it. I walked everywhere. So
these are good tips, and these are all like, that's the same. Even if I'm out traveling and I'm not usually cutting, because these days I'm kind of just maintaining. But I'll make a point of that, of trying to walk, because I think I wrote about this recently. You probably burn about 600 calories per hour walking.
Yeah.
And, so if you do a few hours of walking, and that of course counts wherever you walk, it's not just like you have to be outside on the sidewalk walking.
Yeah.
So if you can rack up a few hours walking per day, it makes a big difference.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I'd walk a lot. And then, you always walk in to get lunch, you walk in to go dinner, you're walking back to your place or whatever you guys are doing for the day. So that was a big thing. I mean, I just enjoyed it. And also, that helped. And I started noticing right from there, like as soon as for the first week, I probably dropped like 3 or 4 pounds. And I know it's like the initial water weight, because I'm starting to track and getting serious. But then, after a couple of weeks, I started to notice, hell, my pants and my suits don't fit anymore. I'm like, I need to get so just like, it was the good problems that you have when you're losing weight.
Yeah.
And then that was in September. That project probably wrapped out around the middle of November. And then, so that was about, maybe 2.5 months. I was on that, in the traveling. And then once, I came back, I had, kind of a little bit more time to work out. So I broadened it up to maybe about 4 days a week. And I was doing the traditional, the Muscle for Life. I was doing chest and usually triceps, back and biceps, shoulders, and also legs. And again, like I said in my little blurb about my success story, I really liked working out that way. Like, again, like I always stuck to the higher rep range. And then once I read that, I was like, this makes more sense than what, I read in a magazine, or I read in this article that some, roided out bodybuilder was telling me you have to do 4,000 reps of chest.
Yeah, and that muscles don't know weight; they only know tension. And that's why
and all that stuff. So
just do 150 reps per workout.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like, all right, well, I could do 15 pounds dumbbells, or I could do 100-pound dumbbells, and I'll get more results with the latter. Yeah. So I started following that, and then I just used like the notes app in my iPhone, and I was just tracking every week. Chest. These are all the workouts. This is the weight last week, and this is how many reps I hit every set. And then I would try to beat it once I hit the 6 reps. I would try to for all 3, or if I was in that rep range, I try to add a couple 5 pounds or whatever.
Yeah.
And again, I used that all throughout, and I noticed that I was getting stronger. So I was like, why is my bench going up and I'm losing body weight? And I'm like, now, let's say fast forward a little bit. I'm like, I'm in the 180s, and I'm benching more. Like I said in the beginning, like when I was 220, and I'm like, 225 isn't really that hard anymore. Like I'm getting stronger. I'm like, I just never trained that way for strength. And I mean, it was awesome. So I enjoyed, using those methods, and also, again, just the diet recommendations, kind of following that with the macros, high protein, moderate carbs, kind of lower on the end fats. Again, that was all kind of attributed. So it was the culmination of all those things that I was, working towards and getting to eventually where I had my point was like, all right, I was like, I don't look like how I used to look without a shirt anymore. So the thing about that, it was, that was, I believe it was in February, the beginning of February, when I was featured on one of the social medias, I think, around then. So, that time, of course, me, like, I always had the mindset, and I still do, like, I want to be as big as possible. Like, so I'm like, all right, I don't want to lose this. I'm like, I want to stay at this body fat, but, I want to try working on getting stronger. And so like pretty much what I did, and again, I don't know if you want to get into like kind of leading up to like after there, like where I am now, or like,
let's do it.
why not?
I'm following your lead.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, all throughout, that was in February. I tried kind of do like a little bit of a bulking, kind of like a mini,
Hmm.
like I remember like sending you an email about it or something like, a long time ago.
Yeah.
It was maybe like a month and a half. And then I was like, all right, well, it's, end of March, April, summer's coming up again. I live in like a beach town in New Jersey. So I'm like, obviously I still want to be able to take my shirt off and not, feel like a total mess.
Yeah.
um, but
And
yeah,
then
so
it's the curse of getting lean is
yeah,
then if you're not at your leanest, then
you're,
you kind of just feel fat. That's the neurosis. That's what it turns into.
oh yeah, yeah,
So
we're
like it
all,
doesn't matter if you get down to, it doesn't matter what it is, like if you compete or if you just did it for a photo shoot or just for fun, if you get super lean, anything but that now is not good enough.
exactly. Yeah, I know.
Unfortunately.
It's,
And you just learn how to deal with it psychologically. You just have to tell yourself to settle down, basically.
exactly. I know. It's like the thing, like, but yeah, no, and that's pretty much what it was. So it's like, all right, it's summertime. I'm just going to maintain. So I used a lot of the principles. I mean, I ate a little more,
Yeah.
but I did use like the intermittent fasting. Like I use that, all throughout the summer. I tried to, I was drinking coffee for breakfast and then try to eat a lunch or like, if I'm gonna.
And how does intermittent fasting help you? Like, what do you like about it?
Yeah, yeah. So for me, like I never even, as long as I can remember, I never really liked as soon as I woke up just shoving food down my mouth. Like everyone is like, oh, it's good for your metabolism. It's all this. I'm like, I can take it or leave it. But I always thought, again, reading those bodybuilding magazines, I'm in a super hyper catabolic state. My
Yeah.
muscles are literally falling off my body if I don't, if I don't shove, get 100 grams of protein in my body right away.
Yeah. Like
So
disintegrating, like
yeah.
what was that movie, like Prometheus in the beginning when the dude's just
Yeah.
like withering
Yeah,
away?
exactly. You're on fire right now. Your muscles are, yeah. But yeah, so I noticed, I'm like, wait, this is, there's science that's saying otherwise. So, let me read into this. And then again, I know you touched upon it in Beyond Bigger, Leaner, Stronger too. So, I picked that book up, of course, to, kind of see what's next or what else can I do. And, I was still getting a little bit stronger. Right. And like I said, throughout the summer, I tried to maintain. And then once it hit September, I was like, all right, I'm still, I was probably around between 180 and 185. So I still managed my weight. I kept my weight, regardless of, going out to eat on the weekends or drinking beer at night, stuff like that, like bonfires and things like that. So,
Yeah.
I was like, all right, now it's time to just get stronger, pack on some muscle if I can, because I've been working out again since probably since I was 16 or 17. So I'm 25 now.
Yeah.
So about 8 or 9 years. And it's like, well, how much more, because there's always like those different schools of thought. It's like, how much more muscle can you gain?
Yeah.
And then, you do those calculators. I think it's like that one, Casey Butt or whatever. It's like your genetic potential. And I do that and I'm like, I still have a long way to go.
Yeah.
So it's like, can I really gain that? So I've been bulking since September. And what I've noticed too is, again, in a lot of your articles, it's talking about, the optimal way to build muscle. And it's, again, I used to have the school of thought of, you have to eat 12,000 calories and, just have an IV of Ben and Jerry's any time during the day. So I went a little bit, I kind of kept it within 250 calories and stuff like that. I noticed I was getting stronger. One thing that I always did, and it's funny because I never really did squats. I kind of left it out. I didn't neglect my legs. I mean, I always did
you just did other things.
Yeah, I always did like heavy leg press. I never really skipped leg day.
Yeah.
But then over the summer, I remember reading one of your articles about the Adidas Addy Power, the squat shoes and stuff like that. And I was like, let me give that a shot. And also with that, I know my squat depth sucked. Like a lot of people who, do like the quarter squats or 8 squats or whatever. I in your book, Beyond Bigger, Leaner, Stronger, you had all those stretches.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing that every day, every night before I went to bed. I was doing those stretches to help my squat depth. And then I got those shoes and I was like, holy crap, what a difference. And then I started squatting, pretty much twice a week. And that's been my focus since I started bulking since September. I've been doing legs twice a week, so I'm doing squats, and I usually do one muscle for lifestyle. So I do like the 4 to 6 reps,
and then do a higher rep,
and then I do like a higher rep squat or like a 20 rep squat or something like that. Just just to kind of get my legs somewhat, so I'm not just standing on 2 like pencils.
Yeah. How have you progressed so far?
So I progressed pretty well. I, again, like having never really been able to squat well or without pain or without, getting down like with depth. Probably in the summer, I was probably squatting around like maybe 160, 175. the last Friday, because it's usually my heavy leg day. I did 315 for
Nice.
3 sets of 6.
That's great.
So I was happy about that. Yeah, and I was like, all right, this is cool. And then my front squat, I'm around like 225.
Nice.
So I'm like, all right. And then like the other days, like the lighter days, I worked up. So I started at like 240 or whatever, and I do 3 sets of 10. And now I'm up to this week. It's going to be 170 for 3 reps of 10, 3 sets of 10.
Yeah.
Other than that, again, my bench went up to. I was doing the Beyond Bigger, Leaner, Stronger. So I was doing the
some
super
real heavy stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, the real heavy. So like the 2 to 3 rep range. I hit 305.
Nice.
And that's big for me because I actually I tore my labrum when I was in high school. And so, I mean, I had surgery on my shoulder, and it's always kind of be a thing that I have to kind of look out for. But to the fact that I was able to bench, that heavy, or and bench 275 between 4 and 6, I mean, for 3 reps, I still think it's an accomplishment in my book.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I've ever been higher than 295 personally. And that was the last time that I bulked. I mean, if I would have continued bulking, and I'm sure I could get stronger, but I have super long arms, which work really against me.
Of course. If you're not,
I have straight monkey arms.
Yeah. If you're not like 5'2", like you are not good for like powerlifting. Because it's like, if you have that, like that.
Basically, like if you have a range of motion, then forget it.
Just forget it.
I have long femurs too. So my body is not made for, weight for strength training. It's just not. Even genetically, I did a DNA fit test, and genetically, like I'm much more predisposed to be like an endurance athlete. I guess the only thing that works for me in terms of muscle building, which has helped me just get as far as I've gotten, is I forget the name of the gene, but it's a gene that it is particularly affects muscle recovery, if I remember correctly. And so these guys, they work with a lot of professional athletes, like professional soccer players and stuff, and they said that like 80% of professional athletes they work with have that genetic quality. So like that's why that basically genetically explains why my body has responded well to weightlifting in terms of hypertrophy, but I would not make a good strength. My I have super long arms, super long legs, and genetically I'm just not made for it. So I'm with you on that. Like I was happy in my last time bulking. I did I think 3 or 2 or something with 295, and I was like, all right. Well, it's not 315, but I'm sick of being fat. So this is where I'm going to stop.
It eventually comes to the point. It's like, all right, well, I have zero aspirations for powerlifting.
Yeah, same.
Because those guys are just, it's
monsters or animals.
Yeah, it's a whole nother level. So I'm like, you know what? I like working out. It's fun for me. I like, changing the way my body looks. I like pushing myself. So, I'm not going to be, all like geared up, wearing a bench press, shirt and all that stuff, and have the crazy arch and stuff. So
I mean, even if you stay raw, I mean, it's just obviously a lot of wear and tear on the body.
Yeah,
and that's if you're playing any sport competitively, there's going to be some element of that, but that just is what it is.
Yeah, no, definitely. And with that, I have a couple just stupid injuries. Like I have a herniated disc in my lower back. So I have, when I do kind of heavier squats, I do use a weight belt, and same thing with deadlifts. Like, I mean, the most I got up to deadlifts was, I think 425. I did, 405 for 6. And I was like, all right, this is good. I don't feel like my spine's going to shoot out of my back. So I think I'm pretty good. But again, I'm always trying to get stronger and stuff like that. So I'm not just completely neglecting or going to stay at that. So but yeah, and that's, I've noticed.
I think there's something to be said too I've run into this myself, that there is a point where I feel like I haven't sustained any real injuries, which, knock on wood. But there is a point where I've thought myself, like, you start going there, like deadlifting 500 pounds is not good for your body. It just can't be. You know what I mean? Right. There's a point. It probably depends on the individual's body and it depends on a lot of things. But I think there's definitely a point with everyone's bodies where it's like, okay, you're very strong. You have enough strength to build as much muscle as you possibly can naturally, and structurally speaking, there's a point where, like, if you keep going, your rate of your risk of injury probably rises quite faster than it did leading up to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exponentially. Yeah. I totally agree with that. So that's the thing. It's like if you're, moving heavy weight, and you're pretty much stronger than about 90% of the people that go to the gym and do the same workout, week in, week out, and not, that's perfectly fine with me. And I've noticed that it's,
And then you can work, I mean, at that level, we're talking about like you're an advanced weightlifter, you've put, years of work and you've built your foundation, you've built more than your foundation, you've probably achieved 90% of your genetic potential, really. Then you can work in different ways. I mean, gaining strength is fine, but you have to realize that like gaining muscle, it comes very slowly after a while. And then also, when you're periodizing your workouts like you are, you can make progress even in higher rep ranges is fine, especially because now you can actually move some weight for 10 reps or 12 reps, or even 20 reps, as opposed to years ago. And this is the same thing for me, how I used to train, where I was like pretty fucking weak. So, it's fine to do 20 rep sets, but when you're doing it with no weight, the body doesn't respond
exactly.
Well.
Yeah. When I'm using 15 pounds and I'm doing incline bench on their dumbbell bench. Yeah. It's like, what are you doing? Just feeling the burn. Come on. It's all about muscle confusion, right? So that's what we got to do here. But yeah, no. So that kind of leads me. And like I said, I started bulking in September around 180, 185. I'm around 200, 205 now.
Nice.
And it's like, it's crazy because I'm like, all right, I'm like, this is weird. I still have bicep veins. I'm like, I still have like veins, like, my quad and stuff like that. I'm like, all right, obviously I don't have, I'm not ripped and I don't have a six pack. I'm like, but I still have like, a decent amount. So like, I'm getting to the point like that, where it's the kind of the cutting and bulking phase where you get up to around, 14, 50% body fat. And then, I'm planning on, another 2 or 3 weeks to start cutting. Nice. And to get back down.
Are you sick of eating yet?
No,
no, really,
no. See, the thing is, like, I hate when people are just like, oh, I can't eat enough, and I'm like, I wish I had that problem. Like, it's like I can't. I'm always so full, and I'm like, I'm seriously a black hole. I probably have probably several very happy tapeworms.
I was going to say, do you have a tapeworm?
But the thing is, it's funny because my whole family, like, I mean, like my older brother, he's massive. He eats a ton. He's strong, strong as hell. So, it's just funny though, because I can never I probably amaze everyone that whoever goes to dinner with me, or I know my girlfriend and her family's like, how do you still have room? You eat all this food and then you eat dessert and then you're like, it's like there's no off button.
I actually, strangely enough, I can eat a ton of food in one sitting, but I don't get hungry whether I eat or I don't eat. Like, my version of hunger is I just feel kind of like it would be cool to eat some food, but I don't get hunger pangs. You know what I mean? So I could eat 2,000 calories in a day and be like, yeah, sure, whatever. Or I could eat 5,000 in one, maybe not in one meal. I could definitely easily eat 3,000 in one meal and be like, oh, dude, I'm just getting warmed up. So I can relate to that.
Exactly. And it's funny because, like I said, before I started intermittent fasting, I used to notice I would get hangry a lot, because again, I had that mindset that if I'm not eating that whole,
I swear the psychological plays a role.
It's absolutely, and that's what I know, like a lot of the fitness industry does. They prey on all your psychology.
Like you need that protein every
you do
every 3 hours, and it should be this protein supplement, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you need to. And then you're going to gain, 50 pounds of muscle in the 8 weeks that you take this in a double-blind study.
Yeah, exactly. Conducted by University of Tampa.
Yeah, but
this supplement is better than steroids.
Exactly. It's like, illegal steroids, all that BS. So, but yeah, just to go with that, since I started fasting, I mean, I don't do it now that I'm bulking, but I mean, I do. I mean, I usually, again, when I wake up for work, I usually wake up around 5:30 in the morning, and I usually eat maybe my first meal at 10. So I mean, I still am kind of doing.
Yeah, so it's just your version of it. It's just when you feel kind of eating when you feel like eating type of thing.
Exactly. So it's convenient for me, but I've noticed I don't get hangry anymore. Like, I know if I'm going to dinner, and we're waiting long, and I didn't really eat much the day, I'm fine. It's just a different. It's cool because it's almost a different kind of mindset now that I have. When before I would get shit,
I need it right fucking now.
I need it now. Just give it to I need it in my body, and I don't care.
Yeah.
But
my girlfriend, now my wife, she used to have protein bars in her purse because back in the day when I was uninformed, and she would know. I would be like, oh, I mean, it wasn't like I was on a clock, but. Again, it was a psychological where I felt that, I needed to eat every few hours or I'm going to lose muscle. So then I don't know, every few hours I would just get super hungry. I need protein right now. Yeah, no. Or I need to, my metabolism is going to go to a screeching halt and I'm just going to starvation mode.
Exactly. Yeah. It's you don't and then just reading all that stuff. It's just amazing. That doesn't happen for 24, 48 hours, after you don't eat anything.
If you go 3 days without eating, that's a problem.
Yeah, that's a problem. But we're never going to have that, I don't think, but it's just, like I said, my mindset changed with a lot of things, following your book and following, the intermittent fasting. And I know once I start cutting again, I'm probably going to push that window out longer, start drinking coffee again.
Do you like with IF when you're cutting that you get to eat larger meals? Does that help you just not overeat basically?
Yeah, it does. I like pushing it out. It's because I'm more hungry at night. After post workout and stuff like that, you're just ravenous. So, I like that so much better. And just with that, I mean, that's the one thing that's tough with cutting, because I think when I first started cutting, I might have adjusted my calories maybe a little bit too low. So I know when I finished my cut at 180, I was eating around maybe 2,000, 2,100 calories. And it's funny because, I mean, it sounds
pretty good. I mean,
it could, I mean, I don't know if it's just, my metabolism or what, but I've noticed now, like when I started bulking, I was like, okay, so let's say 2,500 is like my maintenance. So I was like, all right, let's go up to like, say 2,700. And like, I was eating that and I was like, all right, I'm not really gaining weight. And then like, I moved it up to like 2,800 and I'm like, I'm still not like, I'm gaining a little bit. And then like, I'm not like for like 2 weeks. And like, then I'm like, I plateaued. So like, I'm up to around like 3,000 or 3,100 calories. Like I keep like I don't track it as strictly and religiously as I did when I was cutting, obviously.
Yeah.
But I still have that, once you kind of do that,
you're in that range of 31
exactly.
to 3,300.
Yeah. So like, that's what I've been doing now. And I mean, I love it. I just love eating more.
That's a good method.
And then other things I've
my last bulk though, I was eating probably by the end, again, I wasn't tracking because it was also, it was just, I was eating so much goddamn food. It was like, it was 4,000 probably to 4,100 a day, and I had to just to keep gaining weight. And I wasn't even super fat. I was like maybe 14-15%, maybe even a little bit lower. It's kind of always just a guesstimation, but
of course
I still had abs and stuff and whatever. But that's where, I mean, I had to eat so much food, I just got sick of it. Like my last meal of the day was a huge bowl of pasta, and I would just like force it down. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like when you come to that end of the day, you're like, I have like 500, 600 calories. I was like, all right, time to just put peanut butter and something. Like, I'm just on like, wheat toast or something, whatever. Just, I need to get those calories in.
Anything.
Which is what, I mean, that's the best problem to have in my book.
Yeah, I know. But there's a point where even you would get sick of that. I guarantee you there's a daily intake where you just be like, I don't want to eat anymore.
Probably like a Michael Phelps like amount, like, like 10,000 calories. I think probably then I'd like hit my breaking point. So I really enjoyed, so far, like, on the program and everything, like I've been using a lot of your, like, I still been following, the bigger, leaner, stronger, kind of mindset and principles with, the heavier weight. One thing I started experimenting with and playing around with is actually, the upper lower, days. So working out 4 times a week, but trying to focus more on, upper body and lower body again, because I know I want
to increase frequency.
Exactly. Because I've never done that before. And I was like, all right, let me give it a shot. And after a while, your body gets used to it. Like I'm not usually as sore as, if I did, just a chest day and
because your individual workout volume is lower.
Exactly. And I feel like I'm still progressing. So, I mean, that's just something I've tried again, because I'm, like, I know you're always trying to read more, trying to see, all these studies and stuff like that. And there's so much shit on the internet. It's just like, for someone, like, I feel bad, like for people who, like, anyone who's like starting to like work out or starting to get into it or ask me like how I did, I'm like, I just put them to your site. I'm like, just this, because everything else you read, it's probably from someone who's like 16 years old and like probably 105 pounds, like soaking wet, like telling you that you need to,
like commenting on YouTube.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, just don't do that. Or the people
on so many drugs.
Yeah, exactly.
Or never hope to even get anywhere. Like
exactly. Like, oh, I'm eating, 6 pizzas every day and I'm down to 6% body fat. It's like, God, like
I've been cutting on 3,000 calories a day for 3 months now, I'm still on 3,000 and I'm shredded. I don't know. I just have good genetics. I just have a good metabolism.
Thanks, mom and dad.
It's like, and I got bigger and I'm dry as fuck. And
it's like, okay, all right, I see. Right. And I didn't even realize, like, like I watched a couple documentaries and stuff like that on steroids, and it's just crazy to see like how much everyone's just fucking on steroids. Like, it's like, not everyone, of course,
it's very prevalent. I mean,
it is. I didn't realize it was as, prevalent as it is. I thought a lot of people, again, this was just my naivety, I guess, when I was younger. Again, you're seeing the bodybuilders and stuff like that who have the 87-inch quads and stuff like that. Like, oh, this guy's just, he worked really hard.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, he did,
And
but
and then
you know,
genetics. So
and then,
and there's but there I mean there that those are two very important factors for sure.
yeah,
But if you speak with and I've spoken with professional bodybuilders that are more honest about this kind of stuff, they'll say that the most important thing is your drugs. And then from there, of course, like these guys do have crazy genetics. A lot of them, like
oh yeah, no, absolutely.
you know what I mean. Like look at Ronnie Coleman when he was in high school.
Oh yeah, he's
Ridiculous.
He's bigger than I'll ever get.
Ever be.
Yeah.
He looks like, given his height, he looks like he was like 230 and maybe 220, 230 and lean. And he himself said that he started doing steroids when he was 25. And the reason I know that is because I included this information in an article and linked to a little talk he was giving on YouTube. So, and I don't know why he would lie about that. Like he was talking about it. He's like, yeah, so that's when I started doing steroids. And I don't know why he would, like, what does he care? If it was really 21, why would he say 25?
Exactly.
Even if you look at pictures from him at that time when he was 25, massive. He was massive. He was so big. So,
I know.
I mean, these guys do have genetic, I mean, they were just built to be huge, but then, of course, you look at some of these professional bodybuilders that have retired, and now they look very natty now.
Oh yeah,
so that's how that shows you the big
exactly.
difference.
Yeah, when they're not taking all the
And even though they're still working out, like I think there's a couple guys I don't remember. Was it Flex? Maybe not Flex Wheeler. There was a couple where I saw who still stay in shape. They're still in the lifting, but they're like half their size that they were.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know. And it's like even like I know the other thing that comes to mind is like is Jay Cutler when he's like 16 or 17 years old. Like it's like like I can never look like that. And like you're not on steroids and you're like 17 years old and you're just like at like my genetic potential, right?
Yeah,
just like
I know
it's depressing. No. So that's just to kind of play off that. So that's why I try to show them some of the stuff that you put out, because again, a lot of it's you'll find the least amount of like there's no bullshit. Like you've been through it. You have your clients, you have your success stories and stuff like that, and it's like. All right.
And I mean, just not to toot my own horn, but at this point, I've worked with. I mean, I don't even know if I were to look at my Gmail, I probably have 40,000 emails, like total emails sent. Legitimately, probably 40,000. It's definitely over 30,000.
I can only imagine.
And those aren't individual. Like that'd be each individual email. But so I've worked with now, and by worked with, I mean it's not that I even charge people money for it, but I've seen so many things now, and I have stayed in touch with so many people. So in that way, I've worked with thousands of people, meaning like people like you that came to me, it could, at some point, and then I've just stayed in touch with, and they email every so often. So I've gotten to see so many things, which has helped in like, just, seeing so many circumstances and so many situations and so many, then when new people come and say, hey, this is the situation I'm in, what do I do? In most cases it's just do the basics, but there's a good chance I've also worked with somebody that's been in those person's shoes exactly. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it helps.
Right. Yeah, no, totally. And that's, I mean, I think that's so crazy that you respond to like everyone. I don't really get the time for that.
It's about priorities, and also I mean I do have a good system set up. I don't know how fast of a typer I am now. It's over 100 words a minute. I'm sure I'm like I don't know. I've just been typing so much at this point. But then I have a good system set up with like keyboard shortcuts, and it's like very efficient. But it's also just making the time. I'm reading a book right now. It's called Hug Your Haters. Kind of funny, and it's all about customer service. We do a little book club thing here at the office where we all read the same book, one book a month. We all read. Cool. And then we discuss it and stuff, and what are our notes and takeaways, and how can we implement this and what we're doing and stuff. So this is I'm like only 30 pages in. We just started it, but so far, kind of the core message of the book is the idea it's called Hug Your Haters, because people that are complaining, instead of ignoring them or thinking that they're assholes or attacking them, you should embrace people that are complaining, because they're giving you valuable insights and intelligence on your business, and they represent a large but silent number of people that don't care enough to really complain, but they're not satisfied, kind of thing. Yeah. And so one of the things that like the core, message is, at least in the first part of the book, is you have to respond to every review everywhere. Basically every piece of communication that comes your way, you have to respond to it, good or bad. And it's just funny that, that was something I never read anywhere, but even starting out, I was like, yeah, it's going to take time to answer every email and be in touch with everyone and take care of social media and do all that shit. But I think people are really going to appreciate it because nobody does that. And what better service can you offer, especially in this context where it's like, okay, so the person read the book, they have questions, they're not sure on what to do. And I could take 3 minutes of my time. And because I have so many articles in this case, it's also a lot of it's like, oh, that's a good question. Go check out this article. There you go. Like all I did was point them to an article, but it answered their question. And that just makes such a huge difference in terms of building goodwill. So people if you're listening and you own a business, it really, really, really works. The time that you put into that is not lost time. Customer service is not it's a profit center if you use it properly, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, I know you guys, I mean, I don't know if you consider yourself that, but I mean, yeah, I know you guys treated yourself like a startup almost, kind of like a supplement company startup.
Totally. And, I mean, that's what it is, factually.
Yeah. And it's like so cool to see like all this like different stuff now that like you guys evolved. I remember, again, just starting out, and I know you put out, what was it first, like the Pulse or something? You put the pre-workout out first.
Yeah. Well, we launched with Pulse, Whey, Recharge, and a creatine product that it was Pulse, Whey, and then it was a creatine product that became Recharge that we changed. Okay. And I feel like I'm forgetting one. Anyways, but yeah, a few products right in the beginning.
Okay, yeah, and then like it's cool to see like all the stuff that you guys have now. Like I know some of them, like I know like your multivitamin and Fortify, even though it was on back order for a
I explained why in that email. You probably saw that.
Yeah, I did.
I mean, it was stupid.
I had to like concoct my own version of it in the interim. It was almost like that episode of Family Guy where Peter Griffin is like trying to make Red Bull, and he's just pouring the gasoline in the blender and he's drinking. Yeah, so that's yeah, so it's like that. But like I said, like your supplements too. Like I know I love like Legion is by far like sorry, not Legion, Pulse. It's such a good pre-workout. And again, I know I've had a lot of success using Phoenix as well. Yeah. Because again, in addition to believing all the dogma from the old school bodybuilding magazines and stuff like that, like you also they push, so many supplements on you. So I probably took everything under the sun. And it's just
same.
To see, yeah, exactly.
I think I used to spend like $400 a month on supplements.
Oh yeah, no, me too. Like I would have like
actually ridiculous.
Yeah, it's just completely. And to think it's like, wow, if I just use that money but bought, like food. First of all, I wouldn't need that much food anyway. So I'd be saving, so much money. And then just get like the stuff that's tested and works instead of just the shit that, they say,
Basically anything that's promoted if it's sold in a retail location, it's probably shit. Unless it's just like a vitamin D pill or something. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, if it's a pre-workout and it's sold in a retail location, you can get much better stuff online from companies like my company that sells direct to consumer, because there are too many middlemen in the retail model right now. How it is, you'll never see great products in GNC or Vitamin Shop. You never will, because there's not enough money in it. You have to make that product for let's say it's $40, which is what people are willing to pay for, give or take. Yeah, that means that you need to make that product for maybe $4 a bottle, maybe $5 if you're really generous. But that's not enough to do shit. You can't make a good product. You can't make a good anything for $5. You can't make a good multivitamin. You can't make a good pre-workout. You can't make a good post-workout. You most definitely can't make a good protein powder. You just can't do anything with that. So that's one of the big problems with the supplement industry. And but I think it's great to see that what we're doing is it's great for us, but it's great to see that that's happening in other industries too. It's kind of a disruptive type of business model that, again, I mean, we're kind of going off on a business tangent now, but people that are listening, this is an opportunity, not just necessarily in supplements, but in anything, where if you can get into a position where you can cut out the middlemen that need their cut, so you can sidestep distribution by going online and sell direct consumer, and instead of being greedy, because what a lot of companies have done, the opportunity to be Legion has been there. It's not like I just lucked into it right in the beginning, and this wasn't the 1980s in the computing industry or anything. It was just like, well, you had these other companies selling online, doing the same thing, but instead of putting more money into making good products, they just said, cool, bigger profits, more Lambos, so let's do that. You know what I mean? Really, honestly. So when I was looking at it, I was like, yeah, okay, fine. Or I could just spend 4 times as much on making a product and make it so good that no one can copy it, because it will never work in a retail environment. And if you're going to spend that much to produce your product, you better have a really good, you better have something really smart worked out for your marketing and advertising, because you're not going to have as much money to spend on that as these other companies. So, that's if you can find that opportunity in any industry where you go, I can cut out middlemen. I can just then take the money that would be normally given to middlemen and make a better product and sell it direct to the consumer at a good price. Then that works. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I can personally attest for it. Again, I know, just having some, again, I'm not affiliated with you guys, in any way. So just having someone, take your supplements, stuff like that, I'm like, oh, this stuff is actually this shit works. Just that the pre-workout and all that stuff. It's it's helping me, so much better than you see the other garbage that it's just
it used to give me stomach aches. That's what I didn't like about other pre-workouts.
Yeah. And it's funny because I know a lot of people when I talk to them about their pre-workouts that are like, oh yeah, I used to take, this or that. And it always give me, a stomach ache, or I always feel terrible. I feel like death. And
I'm and that's bad. That's a bad,
you don't take something that makes you feel that way. Yeah, it's gonna give you more energy, but if you feel like your colon's gonna freaking blow out when you're doing squats, I'm like,
that's your body telling you something.
Something's not right.
Just do a caffeine pill instead, or
exactly. Drink a cup of coffee.
Exactly. I agree.
Yeah. So no, but yeah. So that's pretty much again with the supplements and the working out and stuff like that. It's just been I'm I know a lot of your stuff. It's always evolving because again, new science comes out, new new breakthroughs, new research. So that's where I
also in some cases it's ingredients that we've been trying for months to put. I want to put one more ingredient in Pulse, and I've had alpha GPC was an idea, and I had a specific reason why I wanted that. Alcar was another form of carnitine, was another that they're still trying, was another, but the problem is, and I'm forgetting one, there's one other one we tried as well, and now we're trying to work tart cherry juice into Recharge, but the problem is the taste. It tastes so bad. We've just been striking out one ingredient after another, but we're working on it, so.
That's I know. That's I know if you take a straight leucine supplement, the powder,
awful,
it is the worst thing. Or
it's
a hydrolysate, like a whey hydrolysate or something like that. It's just
unflavored. We're going to come out with an unflavored whey from ours, and I'm on the same page. I've had unflavored wheys before that were really gross.
Yeah.
And this unflavored whey that we're going to be releasing, I was actually surprised. It tastes pretty good. I was impressed actually.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So.
That's pretty cool.
I'll send you some when it's available.
I'll be all right, cool. Just drinking water with
it's kind of mild and creamy. It's actually pretty good.
Let me ask, what was one thing that, what was one issue or problem or something like that you had when you were first starting, Muscle for Life? What was one thing you would say was a struggle?
There's always in any business success story of any kind, there's a bit of serendipity involved, luck involved, of course, hard work and being smart and having a good plan and all that. But along the way, you're going to have, if things are going to grow as quickly as my stuff has grown, there's going to be some luck involved for sure. And I guess in my case, in the beginning, there was two things it was just serendipity. It was luck. One was when I first published Bigger, Leaner, Stronger, there were no other books really like that. And to be fair, that's one of the reasons why I did it, because I saw that and I was looking at what books were available for, was there a book similar to how there isn't an app right now that's really good for tracking your weightlifting and your diet. It just doesn't exist. Yeah. So that's what I'm building. So it's similar with Bigger, Leaner, Stronger. I was like, why hasn't someone written a book yet that kind of just breaks down flexible dieting and breaks down really the 20% of stuff you need to know to get 80% of the results. Instead, we have a lot of these books that are it's marketing nonsense. It's trying to pretend like there's some new breakthrough in weightlifting that is going to change everything, or in dieting you have to eat this way or eat that way, or so that was lucky that was the case, because now there have along the way now in the last few years a lot of ripoff type books. I mean, sometimes in some cases it's funny. There was this one guy, so he emails me he likes my work and he loves reading my articles, and he wrote a book and he would love me to check it out and maybe endorse it or whatever. And it's unlikely that I'm going to do that, but just because I get a lot of requests and a lot of this stuff, I don't know how to let them, like, I have to unfortunately let people down nicely where I don't agree with what they're doing or saying or whatever. And you know, I don't want to be a dick, but I'm just not gonna, I don't want to endorse things indiscriminately just to maybe be able to get a favor back or something.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And so in looking at the book, but I just looked at it, and you know, it was basically just Bigger, Leaner, Stronger. Like not really, but it was like the table of contents was like almost the same in terms of the material covered, right? So I'm just like, why would you email? Like, you think I'm not going to notice that in my own fucking book? Like, what are you thinking? So there are a lot of books that have come out since that are, you know, kind of knockoff type products, and you know, the space is kind of glutted now with books like that. So if I were coming into the game into this game right now, I don't know if I would write the, you know, well, let's just say there was no Bigger, Leaner, Stronger, something else was in its place. I probably wouldn't write Bigger, Leaner, Stronger in the beginning, because again, like, I would be looking for what's something unique that I can bring to the space. Yeah. So Bigger, Leaner, Stronger, when it first came out, was very unique, and that's why it grew so quickly and got a lot of word of mouth. And now it's just so entrenched. I mean, it has 2,100 reviews on Amazon. Yeah, I have sold probably 300,000 plus copies in the last few years. That's awesome. And it just goes and goes and goes. And because now it's such a thing that, you know, it just is what it is. So trying to get in and just like trying to go, oh, I can do that, or a Me Too type of product is a bad idea. So that was lucky that, you know, I guess the luck was that what I knew when I wrote the book was exactly what needed to be produced for the marketplace. Mm-hmm. And then when I started Muscle for Life, which was soon after, and you know, Jeremy was involved, that's when he got involved. Well, no, actually it wasn't soon after. Bigger, Leaner, Stronger was like January 2012, and we launched Muscle for Life March 2013. But when we decided to do it in the end of 2012 and then had it built and launched it, and you know, okay, let's start, it was much easier then, and it grew very quickly. I mean, by the end of the first year, it was, I want to say, close to 1 million visits a month. No, that's wrong. It was, I have to look at analytics. It didn't grow that quickly, but it grew very quickly. Mm-hmm. It was definitely in the hundreds of thousands of visits a month by the end of the first year. Wow. And one of the reasons for that is growing a health and fitness blog, which is really what it is, then was much easier than it is now, probably mainly because the space has, again, become so glutted. It is, yeah. With websites that are doing the same thing. And see what like my thing also with Legion and with Legion and Muscle for Life is SEO. Like, I'm writing for SEO. I don't care what I want to write about. If it doesn't have any SEO value, I'm probably not going to write about it. And in terms of determining what those criteria are, I mean, it's not complicated, but there's different things that are taken into account. But that, if you're going to play that game, then you're going to be competing with people like me, basically. And you have to be able to give Google what they want, which is long form content that's going to be well written. Their spiders can analyze the quality of your writing. They know, like, can this person write? Is this person, you know, coherent or not? Like, if someone's a bad writer and writes stuff that's hard to read and annoying to read, Google spiders can actually determine that to some degree. Oh, that's awesome. So you're going in, so you need to be able to write, you know, 2,000 plus word articles that are well written, that people like to read, that get shared around. And you're going to be up against, you know, there's the whole link side of SEO, which is, I mean, SEO, you can't just go on Fiverr and buy link wheels. That's not how it works. You have to know the right people, and you have to know what you're doing, and you have to spend a lot of money. Yeah. Not a little bit of money, a lot of money. So if you want to really be competitive, like if you wanted to do like Authority Nutrition, for instance, you want to go up against those trolls, I'm telling you, you better be ready to spend at least $50,000 a month on links, at least. Oh my God. So now that's not to be discouraging and say don't try, but the point is, like, if you're going to go into, you know, this space, don't just try to be like, oh, well, I can spin that article. I can write an article like that. Like, don't think that's going to work, because ultimately, you need to provide something unique and something different that people are going to latch on to. And again, in the beginning, Muscle for Life was that. There weren't any other sites that even, cited research in the way that I did, where made it very easy for people to access. Like, all studies are just linked. And when I make a claim, you can go see, why am I saying that? And so a lot of little things that now are more and more people are doing, but they're starting, behind the curve, and they don't really know what they're doing, and they don't have enough money to do it right and really try to, build as quickly as they would hope. So those are kind of like the two main, I'd say serendipitous things that have put me where I'm at now.
Yeah.
And so in terms of challenges or struggles, I mean, I hate to say it, but at least maybe this is also me as a person and my perspective on things. Like, I honestly think that my life and really any of modern living is so fucking easy. Like, our lives, it's kind of a joke how easy and how good we have it. And not because I make some money or anything. Like, anybody, even somebody that would be at the poverty level, if you look at around the rest of the world, how people live, come on, we have it easy as fuck. You know what I mean? We don't starve. We just go to a store and get food, and we can access the world at our fingertips on our phones. You know what I mean? So, I'm just not one to complain about things much, but in terms of, I guess, so, it wasn't like a big struggle, like, oh, this is so hard. It was more just doing the work. And so, initially, the challenge really is, I guess, I mean, for me, I kind of didn't care and I just did it, so it wasn't so challenging. But the reality is, I'd say for anyone else, for the sake of anyone listening, and if you, to answer your question, the challenge would have been if the amount of time that it took. It wasn't like I work smart, I don't work hard.
Yeah.
Like, it was, and it's still the case. I mean, my work schedule hasn't changed all that much. I worked maybe on average when we started a little bit more, maybe 5 hours more a week, maybe 10 max. But, I still work on average about 60 hours a week. Mm-hmm. A low week is 50 hours. And sometimes it's more than 60. So that there was just no way around that. So, in the beginning, so Jeremy and I saw we have something, we have potential, and we had seen in the beginning we could build this out. We could build up this website. I could write more books. We could do supplements, because we even then knew, like, there is an opportunity to do good supplements and to actually do the stuff that, again, that's the story of Legion, like the stuff that we would wish other companies would make.
Of course, yeah.
We could do that kind of thing. So we saw that in the beginning, but we had to take it one step at a time. So then it's just the grind of showing up every day and putting in the work, whether you feel like it or not. And, it's not a matter of like, oh, well, I'm just lucky because I'm so passionate about what I do that I can just say, that's not even true. Like, yeah, I have passion for what I'm doing, but it doesn't mean that every day I'm super excited to do every task that I have to do. Mm-hmm. And I just discount personally emotions and feelings. I just don't really care how I feel about things. Like, I can turn that off for work. That's very true. Yeah. I try to be less of a robot in my relationships with people, but I do not care how I feel about things when it comes to work. In fact, I don't even trust my feelings. Like, I was just joking with Jeremy today that in some ways, like, if certain feelings that I have about things, it's almost like that tells me that I should just do the opposite. Because that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I see that a lot also with just out there, like, people, like, they're feeling they want to just sit there and watch Netflix for 3 hours. They should do the exact opposite.
Yeah.
They feel like they don't want to go in the gym because they should do the exact opposite and go to the gym. They feel like they want to eat the 19 pizzas. They should do the exact opposite. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's almost like there's a point where I like the War of Art. War of Art. Yeah, Stephen Pressfield a lot. It's a book. And I don't know if you haven't read it, I highly recommend it.
Okay.
And he kind of talks about like this internal resistance that we have in us that just is in there to just get in our way and fuck up our lives, basically. Yeah. And the more and this is kind of coming back to that kind of idea that of like whatever it is, the obstacles that we put in our own way, if you can just it takes self-discipline and it takes self-control, but if you can, beat them enough, it just becomes then, much easier and much harder for life and random stuff to derail you, because I mean, I've experienced this personally where now I have such a routine where I know exactly what I'm going to be doing tonight, and there's no way that I'm not going to be working on what I'm going to be working on, and that's just a fact. It's like every day, you know what I mean? It's like going to the gym. You know, you're going to the gym every day, unless okay, fine, things can happen here and there. But so as you start to get more and more certain in other areas of your life, in your routines, I mean, that's been very helpful to me. So cultivating that in the beginning was a bit of a challenge. Just that, you know, I guess as a person. I've never taken any kind of personality test, but I would expect that I probably have a bit of an introvert, and there are aspects of me that are extroverted, and there's a part of me that's more of an introvert where I don't have any problem being by myself and just doing what I'm doing, and I don't care what other people are doing. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. I don't give a shit if there's a party tonight. I don't give a shit if there's a dinner. I don't give a shit if there's a birthday party, whatever. And if I've decided that's what I'm doing, you know what I mean? So, you know, I don't know. That was maybe the only thing that other people, because then, you know, people are going to hear this and going to be like, oh, that's so sad. What a sad way to live. Honestly, like I've had people, and I don't even get offended. I'm not going to like say, oh yeah, fucking money, or whatever. You know what I mean? Because that would be like the standard response. Be like, yeah, well, is being a millionaire sad?
Just make it rain. Just
is that sad? So that's not even the point. But the point is, you know, for me. And this is another book that I recommend. I've recommended it many times, so it's just cliche for me to even recommend it. But it's a book called Flow, and it's all about, you know, that what are the best experiences that you're going to have in your life. In a lot of cases, they're going to be when you're in this flow state, when you're doing something that's fully engaging, and you know you lose track of time, and it takes you have to exercise skills, and you get immediate feedback. And so you know it talks about that concept applied to different areas of life. Mm-hmm. So for me, that's just very I don't know, that's true for me, in that you can have flow experiences in work, you can have flow experiences in relationships, and you know, whether it be with girlfriends or wives or boyfriends or husbands, whatever, or friends, or there's many different ways you can experience flow. But for me, I try to spend my time doing things that produce that feeling, just because I like it. So, you know, in a lot of cases, my work is a flow type of activity for me. And so I tend to gravitate toward that just because it's enjoyable, truly enjoyable for me. And then, of course, it produces, you know, it produces things outside of just my own emotions. So, yeah, I mean, I know it's kind of a long answer, but that is really, you know, in the beginning, that was the only challenge. And then I can say going forward, the challenge has been just having to persist through all kinds of bullshit, like, and you know, and then learning the lessons of that, you know, don't work with people that aren't really competent, that aren't really professional, that don't really do a good job. We've had to learn that lesson. Mm-hmm. Where I'd just be kind of too nice with people, not people that I've hired and that work with me in the office here, but like external type people that would provide different services. Yeah. And being too friendly about it, you know what I mean? And there's a point where like, I'm a nice guy up to a point. And if there's that I just had to lower that a little bit. You know what I mean? I had to like take a little bit less shit, especially when I'm paying a lot of money, you know what I mean? Yeah. And because if you're not, unfortunately with certain people, with just the way they are, if you're the one that is, if you're not, they're going to just take care of the noisiest people first. And if you're not making a bunch of noise, then that you're not as much of a problem. Yeah. So we had to learn that. And just, you know, as we get into more stuff, when projects have very long runways, which like, for instance, the New Legion website was a ton of work. That was a lot of work. Or doing a book or something like that, where just learning to, and it's really just kind of a discipline of focusing just on the task that's right ahead of you, and don't let the enormity of the entire thing weigh on you and just demotivate you. You know what I mean? So that's also something that was a challenge. And then just something, you know, Jeremy and I had to learn is just like, okay, fine, yeah, it's going to be all this work and we have all these problems with this thing right now, but what are we going to do right now today? Like, what's the next step? And then just doing it. And it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter how we feel, just start. What's the next task? Cool. Start doing it. All right, great. And then eventually, after doing enough of these little tasks, look at that, the whole thing is done. And then, and now you're super happy. And so that's been important just as a, again, it's almost like a skill that we've learned at least. And because the things that are really worth doing take a lot of time. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Absolutely.
I mean, especially in business, business is like, most businesses aren't shit in their first 5 years. They're just not.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. Right. And that's, you brought up a lot of really good points. Like I said, like I'm like, in my professional life, I'm a project manager. So, I notice, again, like everything that you said is spot on with, how to cultivate, kind of learn. Again, I've been on both sides, learning that, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, so to say, or, it's just so, but no, that's definitely, that's really cool insight, coming from, again, like a startup and, how you guys have had such success so far and just kind of seeing that evolution of, putting out articles to now all the books and the supplements and, who knows, the app and all that other stuff that you guys have kind of in the works right now. But yeah, no, that's so cool.
Yeah. It's been a good ride. It's going well. And I think also there's something, last thing I'll say on that, there's something to be said for just keeping in what worked early on now. So a lot of people in my position, honestly, they wouldn't spend time answering emails.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They wouldn't bother with that. I mean, there are a lot of things, that I don't have to do. Like even this podcast, like I don't have to do this podcast.
Absolutely.
I don't have to make YouTube videos at all. A lot of things that, I could start writing one article a month. I could start writing one article every 2 months, and
exactly. And then just push, more of the supplements and just be like, all right, I'm good.
And just ride and just,
exactly.
And just be like, oh, that's good. So, but that one, I'm just not that, I have no interest in retiring or trying. I like working. What can I say? I don't want to go hang out on the golf course. I actually don't want to. I could if I wanted to. I don't want to. I don't do it because I'm here because I want to be here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But also then with people, just maintaining that level of service is something that, in the early on, before it had any real financial impact in my life, I saw the personal impact of it and was like, that's cool. I just want to keep doing that. And you know what I mean? And then I didn't actually even realize in the beginning how big of an effect it has. It's like ultimate compounding goodwill. Almost. I didn't realize that. I experienced it, but in the beginning that wasn't even like a master plan. It was just like, yeah, people would like that. Like, I think it would be cool if I could write an author about, I read his book, I could write him and get a real response to a question. That'd be cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it turns out to be like, oh, now I'm reading this book from this best-selling author that's all about kind of just that. Like that's the message of the book is like, yeah, be a human and be helpful. Like, that's revolution. That's revolutionary. Okay.
Yeah. Right. Because in the world that's getting, highly, hold on a second, I'm just plugging in my iPad here. In the world that's totally, very, computer driven and non-personable and stuff like that. Those who, again, take the time. And actually that's one thing, that's kind of one of the reasons why I was like, this is legit. That's could have been one of the reasons why, I stuck to it subconsciously, is because the fact that I knew that there was like a human on the other side of, of that email that would be like, oh, let me help you out, or, do this instead, or, try that, or any question that I had. Which definitely helped.
And this I think is a great example of how just a small micro example of just how capitalism works like that for the good of everybody, because now it's becoming more of a thing. Not just in fitness, but you've probably seen it. Customer service in general is becoming more of a thing, and as companies realize that it's profitable, they're like, oh yeah, we want to do more of that. And so regardless, even if that was their only reason for instituting something that is customer service oriented, like what we're talking about now, this kind of thing in the beginning, but the effects that it has out in the world are great. So I think it's encouraging to see in airlines and food companies, and I see it all over the place now. It's just becoming more of a thing to actually respond to and be helpful, and not just think of every interaction as a transaction or as a chance to make money. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you know, there are a lot of people I remember in the fitness space when I was first starting where, you know, if you'd email them a question, most would just be like, oh yeah, that's a good question. Here, buy this and it'll answer it for you. You know what I mean? When instead of like it would have taken them actually any more time to just answer the question. Almost if it's like let's say it's a yes no question. Should I do this? Yes no. Be like, oh yeah, you here, buy this.
Yeah,
like
just sprinkle some preaching on it. Yeah,
you could have just said yes, and then I would have been more likely to buy your thing. You know what I mean?
I know, because just to support you, because you're like,
actually being helpful. And not
exactly.
asking for anything and just being like, so, you know, I like that also just because I think it's in a way it's just the right thing. It's, I don't know, treat people the way you want to be treated. And it comes back in a karmic way or whatever. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. No, you're 100% right. That's awesome.
Cool, man. All right. Well, we've gone on for an hour now.
Yeah,
I think we could sit and talk about all kinds of random shit, but this has been great. Hopefully everyone will like it. I think they will. And then, you know, if you're listening, go on, you can email me or reach me however you know how to, you know, social media, whatever, or drop a comment on YouTube. That's only, by the way, the area that I'm not good at responding because YouTube's comment management system sucks so bad. It's so inefficient. I hate it. I do try to pop in and answer questions, but so if you've left comments on YouTube videos and I haven't responded, that's why, because that would be, I'd have to spend like 3 hours a day just on YouTube answering comments to actually answer every one. Whereas when you comment on a blog post, I have it set up so I get an email and I'm able to manage it much more efficiently. That's why I can respond to all blog comments and still not just sit and answer, you know, comments all day because I have to do other things as well. But let me know if you like this idea. I was thinking of doing a podcast like this with, you know, someone like Jordan once a month and talk about their experiences. Again, not just with my programs, but more as a whole, and just let the conversations go where they go. Basically, is kind of the idea. So let me know what you think. And thanks for taking the time, Jordan.
No problem.
Appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, anything you want to add before we sign off?
No, I just want to thank you guys again. And like I said in my success story, you know, there's going to be days where it sucks. You know, when you're reaching your goal, it's the struggle. That's what makes people who they are. Like you could see how as Mike explained, you know, starting his business and all that. There's going to be hard days. There's going to be really good days. Yep. But you know, the fact is that you just put the work in every single day and just just stay on the track and just stay focused. That kind of like notes to the grindstone. You know, you're gonna get where you want to get, you know, regardless. And you know, I've used that aspect in every form of my life now, and just to kind of get, you know, working towards anything. So
yeah, be a plow horse, not a show horse.
Yeah, or be both. You know,
or both.
So but yeah, no. So I just want to thank you again. And of course, you know, again, I don't know how that would work if anyone had any questions for me or something. I know like people have questions on Facebook and stuff like that.
If you want to give your Twitter or Facebook, if you want people to come find you.
I mean, if there's a common thing on this, I mean, that's probably, I'll check it out and I'll troll it a little bit. So, I mean, again, like I know, so I mean, just thanks again. And I appreciate the opportunity, Mike.
Okay. Yeah. My pleasure.
All right. Take care.
Cool.